precepts. These are, the Eightfold Path precepts. These are not just to do in a monastery or any other time. And as Bhante Ji calls them, the 8 lifetime precepts. So if you're following the Eightfold Path, and especially those 4 precepts about speech are important, because it's those 4 types of speech that people probably transgress more than, killing or stealing or other kind of things. It's those, probably many, many, many times during the day, people in one way or another, get using that kind of one of those 4 types of speech. That's why it's emphasized in that. Okay. Okay, friends, this is the last day of our retreat together. Some of you have been here from Friday night. And how many people are coming just for the first time today? So raise your hand. So only one person. Okay, so we're going to try to do a little bit more longer meditations to help give you a deeper experience, hopefully. So I'm just going to review the meditation instructions a little bit. Now, the process of meditation is usually described as cultivating mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. And it's this practice of meditation that helps to deepen and strengthen and purify the other steps of the Eightfold Path. Because by doing that, by developing deeper levels of mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom, you're increasing your right view, your right understanding, especially the Bhavanamaya Panya aspect, Chintamaya Panya, Bhavanamaya Panya aspect of wisdom. And also the samadhi, the power of concentration. The mindfulness allows you to gain concentration, because you have to be mindful of the hindrances in order to apply the appropriate antidotes to be able to let go of them so they don't dominate your mind, so that you can continually come back and refocus, connect to your main meditation subject, which is the breathing and the body, the present moment. And it's only then when you balance, there's a little formula I like to say is that mindfulness plus concentration equals wisdom. So the mindfulness, to go deeper, it has to gain concentration power. So it's not interrupted by, sleepiness or the mind wandering out in thoughts or getting distracted by itches and pains. It remains, tranquil and focused. It's like the magnifying glass on a microscope. Keep turning up. The longer you can stay still without moving, then it's like turning up the power of the microscope little by little more, until you can see, go from just simple vibrations into noticing the mind's reaction to sensations. So first we have to get to the body to feel the body sensations, because that's what life is. But life is nothing but sensations. The whole world is nothing but sensations in the deepest understanding level. And all those sensations are coming through the body. And that's what triggers off our reactions. So the first reaction will be some of those sensations are like, the mind pulls away. That's a aversion reaction. Or other sensations, the mind will be attracted, like maybe a bird chirping sound. Oh, so nice, But then somebody next to you coughing, and then you see a unpleasant reaction, right? So it's important to be able to notice those and to be even to identify unpleasant reaction, pleasant reaction. So you can create a little distance there, and so you can just watch it. Oh yeah, just a reaction. Okay, don't get excited. Relax. So actually, what mindfulness does, it creates a buffer zone. You all know what a buffer zone is? Okay. So it's an area, kind of a neutral area between two opposing forces. So you have the self, the ego on one side, then you have the attacking world on the other side. That means sight, sound, smells, taste, touches, and thoughts, this side. And we have to create a buffer zone where there's kind of each one is sort of stopped there so that they don't entangle. That entanglement is what creates the dukkha. And so we have to create that buffer zone. So the meditation, the mindfulness, and the restraint and the concentration creates that buffer zone there. So that you can clearly see the reactions. Normally we don't clearly receive them. Because something lands on the body, immediately just, within a microsecond, the body reacts. You didn't clearly see that process in order to delay it. So the delaying the reaction is important, because when you delay the reaction, even in a couple of seconds, that object may vanish by itself. That's called impermanence, anicca. But everybody thinks everything, the mind thinks everything's permanent. So it has to get rid of it quickly. But if you just give it 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, it's going to change and vanish by itself. And so you don't have to waste your energy to get rid of it, because it's going to change by itself in most cases. Now, of course, people with chronic pain, bone cancer, or any other chronic pains, the thing may not just disappear quickly. But you can develop a tolerance. There's something called a pain threshold in every person. And it can be extended by, practice. It can be extended by, especially by mindfulness and concentration. So I'm just going to go through the 5 aggregate process, because we've been talking about the 5 aggregates. And the 5 aggregates are actually the focus of vipassana meditation, of mindfulness meditation. And so that means form, feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness. These 5 things, every time you hear a sound, the sound is the material form. That means it's the material, the sound vibration is the material form. And that is the initial thing that is coming through your senses. And then it's picked up as being something pleasant or something unpleasant. That means even before you've identified what it is, the nervous system is picking up on it because of past habit, the way we've continually reacted to things. That's the Vedana. Is this pleasant or unpleasant quality? Now, there is a third one, neutral, but because they don't bother us so much, I don't bother talking about it too much. Because it's the painful ones and the pleasant ones we create most of our karma around. So, and then immediately you perceive it. The mental picture of that vibration comes into the mind. Now, just close your eyes for a second. Okay. What did the mind come up with? Did the mind say, Bhante Rahula is making noise, clapping? Okay, well, that's a perception. That means it's a mentally recreated image because I might have done it yesterday or the day before yesterday or so on. The mind remembers it, just like Google remembers it. You say something one time in a Google, it remembers it forever. And so that's the perception. And then we immediately react to it, like an immediate scratch. So all that, if a fly landed on me, it would be all 5 of those aggregates arose and vanished that quickly. And the volition is the reaction to it. So the volition would be like the body jumping like that, or a body movement, or even a thought. And then the sense of I am doing it is there. That's the consciousness. Even though they call it vijnana, the sense consciousness, unless you're an arhat, the ego comes up with it all. So I like to call it ego consciousness. Because the ego is always there until we reach the very highest levels. Sense of I is going to be there. So all those things come together in a moment and vanish. But they keep repeating itself over and over and over again. In the space of 5 seconds, many hundreds, if not thousands, of arising and vanishings of the 5 aggregates will occur. But see, we don't see that because our mind is dull. And our mind, because of clinging, we don't see that impermanence. And it's similar to a motion picture reel of film. This is important to understand. You know, the old style films rolls we run on a projector. So what is it made up of? Made up of individual frames with a hole in between each one, which the projector little spike, keeps the film roll running forward. And it's going through at a fast pace. We don't see the breaks in between. And the light is coming from the projector that projects that out on a screen. So it looks separate out in time and space. So that's exactly what our mind is doing. Our mind is a movie projector. And each moment of hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, touching, and thinking, the 6 senses, are those frames, one frame of the real. Now, one frame by itself doesn't mean much, right? But if you put 2 or 3 together, and you see Donald Duck quack, quack, okay. It takes 2 or 3 drawings to create that animated image. So the animation is in the same way. An artist has to draw each tiny little movement, even if it's just a movement of a finger, it requires a different thing. But it's flashed by really quickly. We don't see it. That's why the illusion of permanence is there. That's how the Buddha developed his insight into anicca. And it doesn't mean knocking over a glass and spill your milk, Anicca really on the deepest level refers to this process of arising and vanishing. Because all it is neurons firing through the brain in the nervous system. Every time any of the senses are impinged, it sends electromagnetic impulses through the nervous system or neurons firing that trigger off these process of perception, volition, and things like that. So that is what is in the deeper level of mindfulness. That is the development of the perception of impermanence. And then because of that, I talked about the 3 characteristics of the 5 aggregates, the 3 characteristics. Can anybody tell them real quick? Anicca? Dukkha? Anatta. So anicca, dukkha, anatta. So anicca means the impermanent. And that's the first one. That's the first insight. Because only based on anicca, then you understand dukkha. And dukkha means you're trying to stop the flow of anicca. Whenever you're trying to stop it by holding on to it, Oh, pleasant feeling, don't leave me, don't leave me. Oh, little birdie singing, don't leave me, don't leave me. Oh, my lover, please don't leave me, my lady. So you're negating or the flow of impermanence. You're living out of harmony with the laws of nature. And resistance. It means you're not wanting it, you're trying to push it away. Instead, if you just relax, it's going to go away by itself. But the pushing is the suffering. And here's a very nice little formula called Buddhist mathematics. Okay, Buddhist mathematics. It's a mathematical formula for suffering, which runs S equals P times R. So S stands for suffering. So suffering equals P times R. So what does P stand for? Come on, it's on your lips. I see it. No. Pain. Pain. So pain is anything you don't want. You don't want something to leave you, that's pain. You don't want something to come to you, that's pain. Times R. What is R?
Resistance.
Resistance, yes. But even to go a little bit further, what is resistance? I don't like it. The ego. I don't like it. I want it or I don't like it. I don't want it. That's the resistance. That means you're resisting the flow of impermanence. Impermanence means everything is constantly changing. And you're trying to prevent that by interfering with it, by trying to hold it or by trying to get away from it. That resistance is the suffering, the struggle. That's very important to understand. That's the key to wisdom. Now, take that formula. So if you have a pain of 5 and a resistance of 5, what would be your suffering? 25. Right. And if you have a pain of 5 and a resistance of 1, what's your suffering? That's a little bit less, right? And if you have a pain of 5 and a resistance of 0, that's Buddhism in a nutshell. And if that's all you could remember, you could attain arahantship. But the problem is being able to see resistance and to first identify the pain as either attachment or aversion or delusion, and the resistance, which is the self holding on to the idea. That's my opinion. I'm right. They're wrong. Now, the mind is always doing this. And that's what creates our stress and every other kind of suffering. So that's what Vipassana meditation is, just observing that going on in your body, mind, and nervous system from moment to moment. And learning how to weaken the resistance by saying, this is not me, not mine, not myself. This is impermanent. This is conditioned. All these reflections. So cultivating the Chintamaya Panya, the ability to reflect when something's happening, like when a pain arises, instead of, that's my knee and just moving. Okay, painful vibration is there. What is that? Okay, it's just many cells and molecules rubbing into each other, producing friction. And then, but this body is not mine, not me, not myself. Just relax. And you're training yourself to relax. But the moment you let up that, then the old habits kick in and you do it. That's why that reflective aspect of mindfulness practice is usually missing in a lot of people. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha says, to identify this is form or this is feeling, and then the meditator understands how this feeling arose, how does it continue, and how does it cease. Most people don't contemplate that. They just want to try to, tolerate it, and then they move, but they don't go into a lot of this, what is called the Chintamaya Panya, or the reflective wisdom. But that's while you're doing that, you won't move. So it is mental activity, but it's a wholesome mental activity. It's developing right speech, right thought, as well as investigation of Dhamma. And so in the meditation, that's what the more advanced level, once you gain some concentration, I just wanted to follow this train of thought about the 5 aggregates. So the last of the aggregates is the consciousness. And again, that's really where what we cling to the most. Self-identity and all of your past history. Because a person could meditate, and as you gain concentration, mindfulness, and you're enduring the pains and you're no longer moving, and then the mind gradually gains concentration. You feel a lightness in the body and mind. You might feel some very pleasant sensations because the mind is no longer thinking of the past or future or struggling. It's getting relaxed. So the natural inherent happiness of the nervous system, of the relaxed electrons and molecules, and being relaxed through this, not tensing up, that's what produces the happiness, the pleasant, the piti and the sukha. So when you gain that concentration, then the mind says, it likes it, of course, so it gets attached to that pleasant feeling. But a lot of people, how many people had this experience? You reach a state like that and you say, oh, I wish this would last forever. Anybody ever had an experience in meditation? We for a certain few minutes or longer, you wish that would last forever? Huh? Why? Why did you wish it would last forever?
Pleasure feels good.
Yeah, right. But the sense of ego is still there. So you let go of the form, you let go of the feeling, you let go of the perception. You stop reacting, but the sense of, oh, I'm a good meditator now. I'm getting close. Stream entry will come quick. I've reached the first jhana, the second jhana. So the thought of I is still, that's the last frontier. The last frontier, like the Wild West, is crossing the barrier of the ego. This form can be let go of fairly simply. Feeling okay. Each one takes a little bit more mindfulness, effort to not identify, like the urge not to scratch. So the urge to scratch. When you see an urge, that's the volitional formation. That's the 4th aggregate, volitional formations. But it's based on that perception of that itch that I don't like. And then the urge comes to get rid of it. You can see the muscles in your arm kind of tightening up to want to lift up. And so you're saying, should I scratch or should I not? Should I scratch? Should I not? And the hand keeps lifting up. At the last minute, your wisdom catches. No. Put it back down. So you didn't create karma. The karma occurs when you've actually done the action. There's karma involved in even the thought, but like killing, you could have the thought maybe to kill the mosquito and actually just about do it, but at the end, if your wisdom kicks in and you prevent the actual killing, you haven't done the karma of killing. That's the key. Where the karma is involved in that moment of volitional activities, where it transforms from feeling, perception, volition. And so you can stop the reaction at feeling, you can stop the reaction at perception, you can stop the reaction and the last one would be to stop it at the actual volition. So the Buddha gave you a few chances. If you can stop by reflecting on feeling, well, this is just these are just atoms and molecules playing around, producing a painful feeling, pleasant feeling. There's no self. Who feels? You can ask yourself, who feels? This body is not myself. This feeling is not myself. Who feels it? These are actually questions you can ask yourself. And then in the end, you realize it's empty. So, this kind of active investigation is an important part of the mind because it keeps the mind active. A lot of people think meditation is just close your eyes and, the mind sinks into some, expanded, exalted state. And it could do that, but that also is a dead end street for most part. This, the Vipassana style of understanding how the mind works. Not stopping the mind from working, understanding it, how it works, and then reconditioning it so it works in a skillful way. It works for you, not against you. Most people's minds work against them because they're trying all these things and nothing works, and then they get frustrated and angry at the world. You see, it's working against you. So we have to understand the laws of nature that govern the mind and work in harmony, live in harmony with those laws of nature, which are, first law of nature, law of karma. Everything you do is going to have a reaction. If it's that action is dominated by greed, hatred, and delusion, you're going to receive that kind of energy back to you. And if it's motivated by kindness, friendliness, and wisdom, understanding, and non-harming, and things like that, then it will, at least less suffering will come to you, and the mind will be more happy. There's a lot of talk about happiness and unhappiness, and people often ask me, they say, "Oh, you've been a monk for 50 years. Are you happy?" I tell them, I'm not unhappy. Because if there's happiness, there's going to be unhappiness. Or one of the dualities. Everything in the world comes in dualities. Past and future, pleasure, pain, tall, short, black and white, and that's what the mind is always going back and forth between those. So as I've already mentioned a few times, the middle path is the mind remaining in the middle, not going out to those extremes. So anyway, because the idea of happiness is different for so many people. But the happiness that the Buddha talked about is not depending on the external world. It's that vibration, that relaxed vibration of awareness that's resting in the middle and not getting caught up in this struggle between past, future, pleasure, pain, self, and others. Yeah, the last one is self and others. So there's three main dualities that the mind is caught up in: past and future, pleasure and pain, and then self and others. Me against them. Me against the world. Me a Democrat against Republicans, or whatever. All these dualities. Buddhists and Hindus, Muslims and Jews. All these dualities are causing all the wars and suffering in the world. And they're basically just thoughts in the mind. But that's why the Buddha called it the world, And transcending the world is reaching the state of the middle path, where the Buddha was in this world, but he wasn't of the world. That's what he said, And that's really what, our practice of meditation, what it eventually, hopefully, we try to gradually work toward that. And the whole practice of the Noble Eightfold Path is gradually working toward that. So, in the meditation practice, as I mentioned, when you start to, when you're sitting longer and let's say, you're able to count your breaths from 1 to 10 without getting lost, or even count it 2 or 3 times, and you feel that you're not reacting so much. Like, the pains, or you're not worrying about the pain so much, you can tolerate them. And the mind is feeling more and more sensations, whether it's the breathing or it's other sensations. And it's just feeling those vibrations. And that's how the mind stays concentrated. Because you're creating a pleasant environment. Now what's going on inside your body is more pleasant than what's going on outside. That's the tipping point. You see, for most people, they think the outside is more pleasant and not the inside, because they haven't developed the skill in cultivating the natural happiness of these subtle vibrations that are going on. Even just feeling your heart beating, even feeling the blood pulsing through your veins. Oh my, that's absolute bliss. And feeling the other sensation, even the clothing touching the skin. That's why I encourage people to use that as an object of present moment awareness, because usually they're not painful things. They're kind of neutral. They're kind of in the background, but they can hold your attention. And so if you have a pain arising somewhere else, feel more of the clothing. And the mind will, can't split itself. So if you're worrying about a pain, focus on something more pleasant, which is not an outside thing. It's, a pleasant sensation. Clothing touching the skin, or just your breathing, or your hands are touching together. Anything will work as long as it's just a purely physical vibration and not something the mind is, imagining. So these are all things to try to keep in mind when you meditate. And this is part of that intellectual wisdom. Because when you're meditating and you're starting to get calm, there's something called the trap of tranquility. Okay? The trap of tranquility. It means when you start to feel this relaxing of the body and mind, it's such a contrast to your normal sort of outwardly focused or neurotic thoughts. The mind says, that's enough for me. And it kind of just loses its forward momentum. You use that concentration and effort to reach a certain level, but when you reach that first level of what I call mediocre happiness, for most people that's like nirvana, and that's enough for me. And they let their foot off the pedal. That means of focused awareness. And they just kind of hang out in that. I conduct a lot of meditation retreats around the world, and in Nilambi and Sri Lanka, longer courses. And one time there was a girl, I noticed her, because I sit up at front and I observe people sometimes. So she was going like this, Then later on, I asked her, "What are you doing?" She said, "Oh, it just feels so good." So yeah, there's a lot of feel-good states, but if you get attached to them, your meditation will stop, your forward momentum. And there's many, many more deeper levels of, pleasant sensations, and then the insights that come from that, if you don't allow yourself to get stuck on just those elementary or initial levels of concentration. So just one last comment on that. I don't know. Did I give you the analogy of the ice cube in water? Okay, this is a very nice analogy to use if you happen to get to that point. So in the process of the meditation, okay, first of all, we try to use the breath, like counting the breaths from 1 to 10, doing some deep, slow breathing. And combining deep, slow breathing with the counting is really one of them, I found the most powerful ways to get concentration. Because if you don't take deep, slow breaths, and you just try to observe the breath by itself, for most people, it's not going to be strong enough to hold your attention. And so you'll get easily distracted, or you get easily bored or frustrated because you can't feel it or something, or you go to sleep. But if you're deliberately doing deep, slow breathing, it takes effort to slow your breath. Like, and then hold in the breath for a couple of seconds. All that requires extreme effort. And it takes all your effort. You can't think about anything else. So it keeps your mind right there in the present moment. And then you let out the breath, and that relaxing, pleasant, relaxing sensation also holds your attention, feeling the last bit of air go out. And so you purposely develop that. And, for doing that for about 5 or 10 minutes, or even 6, 9, or 12 times. And so the whole time it takes 99% of your effort to do that. So you're not getting lost in your thoughts at that time. So that's why, for that reason alone, it is a good way to help to gain concentration. But you don't want to breathe that way all the time in the meditation. Once the mind gets calm and centered, then doing that may prevent the mind from even going deeper. But that's an initial way of, and also it's a known fact that deeper, slower breathing is more conducive for relaxation and mental tranquility. Because thoughts and breathing are related. The quicker you breathe, the more active the mind is. But the slower you breathe, because in one breath, when you're doing that slow, deep breathing, like I was just kind of explaining, you slow your breath. Normally, people breathe about 10 to 15 times a minute, even in relaxation, because there's so much research that's been going on. But if you deliberately take longer breaths, you can reduce that. Like that example I just gave you, it probably took more than 12 seconds just for one in and out breath. So 12 seconds divided into 60 is 5. So you've gone from 10 to 15 breaths a minute down to just 5 breaths a minute. Usually you can even get it down to, 2 or 3 breaths a minute. And so that has drastically brought the mental activity down in proportion that it's got more concentrated. So that's one of the reasons why I encourage people to work with that. Because otherwise people are just sitting down, they come in from, maybe they just got home. Oh, I got to meditate. So rush into the meditation hall, sit down and, or they're just rehashing all the troubles that they just went through in their office. So instead, you come in, you do some deep, slow breathing, you do a few stretches, get in touch with those body sensations, and then you sit down. You're halfway there already. So that's why I do it. And I hope some of you might have seen that or experienced that, how it helps you to do that. Just to encourage you to try to develop a habit, because it doesn't take too long. Even just doing 3 or 4 of those simple stretches, standing stretches, they're not difficult, is enough to help that. So anyway, coming back to the where was I? Simulated the ice cube, right? Okay. So when you reach that state of tranquility, then instead of just getting stuck there, as I mentioned, that's the time to double down and tune into impermanence. So that's the time where you don't have to just keep watching the breath all the time, because the breath is used to get into the body, in my viewpoint. It's used to get into the body, to get centered, to develop that initial stage of tranquility. But then you open up and you start to feel other sensations that you'll naturally start noticing them. Little itchy sensations, maybe a ache or pain starting to arise in your leg or something, or maybe a little pain in the chest, or just some prickly sensations. You know these prickly sensations? You know what they are? Ask a biologist. He'll tell you there are millions and millions of skin molecules that are partying on your arm or other parts of your body, being born and dying right there, defecating. That's why we have all this dust. The doctors will tell you our bodies are littered with dead mites, skin mites, and other things. There are cells. And that's what causes itching a lot. Or they're fighting, they're having a party. Ask a biologist. Look under a 1,000-powered microscope. They look like monsters, those things. I've seen pictures of them. They've taken pictures of these microbes. No, I'm serious. I encourage you to look at them because it'll shock you. This is what you're feeling, but none of them can hurt you. And you can actually enjoy it because it keeps your attention there in the body and not, thinking about somebody who called you a dirty name yesterday or tried to cheat you or something. So that's the thing. So anyway, you open up to the flow of impermanence and see how quickly, different sense, you might be sitting there and you might notice a, muscle jerk. Anybody ever had those? When you're more concentrated and kind of, that's a release of trapped energy, actually. That's the trapped energy in the body being released when you relax. It happens when you're relaxing. That so much energy and stuff is trapped in the body because of our tension. We're holding it in. So when you relax, the body opens and it releases. And that's what you can feel. A lot of that stuff is the releasing of trapped energy. But anyway, the idea is you tune in what is called moment-to-moment awareness. So first you practice concentration, you limit your attention to just the breathing, but then once you've gained that centeredness, you just don't stay there and get trapped in that. You open it up and see how many to the flow of impermanence. So there's an in-breath, and while you're breathing in, you might notice a arise and vanish. There's an out breath, and your sound arose and vanished. Another in breath, maybe a little itch, something on your knee arose and vanished. Or maybe two or three things. Or maybe you heard two or three sounds. 4 or 5 sounds arose and vanished. Even while your breath is going in or out. Because the mind can now notice many things happening simultaneously because it's not reacting to them. So it creates a space. That's what's called expanded mind. In the 60s, they talked about expand your mind, right? But unfortunately, they didn't understand it in the deepest way. I mean, learn new things. No, but mental expansion is the actual consciousness expanding away from its ego-centered grasping. And that's what's called, that's how you can start noticing so many things just arising and vanishing. In the body, even thoughts running through the back of the mind, you'll be able to see them. Because again, it's like turning up the power of the microscope to 500, 600, 700, 1,000. And the more you're concentrated, the deeper that gets. That's why the first jhana, first, second, third, fourth jhanas, these are just deeper degrees of that concentrated state. And that's why the fourth jhana, the Buddha defined as purified mindfulness and equanimity, which shows that it's a gradual. The first jhana doesn't have that. Second jhana is a little bit more. Third jhana is a little bit more, not being attached to pleasant sensations. And then finally, that purified mindfulness. He didn't say a blank state. He said purified mindfulness with equanimity. And that's the state that precedes entering the stream. And this is all laid out very clearly in the Buddha's teachings. Unfortunately, most people don't study them enough to see actually what the Buddha taught. But I'm just explaining that just so that hopefully you'll have some deeper idea. Because a lot of people, they've been meditating for a long time and they get this tranquility. Somebody came to me one time in a retreat and said, "Oh, I've been meditating 20 years. I said, "Oh, really? Oh, very good. What have you been doing?" "Oh, watching the breath." And I said, "Oh, and?" "And? I don't know. Anything more?" A lot of people don't know there's anything more than just watching the breath. So this is the what's next, is opening up, but you can't do that unless you've reached that first level of tranquility. And it will naturally happen. So the breath is still there, but in between that, the breath's going, that is like the background anchor. But in between, you're noticing so many different sensations coming and going, even hundreds in the space of 5 seconds. You can notice hundreds of things. It's like tracer bullets, if the mind is clear and if it's has that concentration. That's why the concentration is important. That's why it's called mindfulness, concentration. Mindfulness leads to concentration. The concentration with the mindfulness leads to this clear seeing, the wisdom. Now we'll come to the ice cube. You've all been waiting for that. So when you get to that point where you have good awareness, and there's things just arising and vanishing without the mind clinging. Normally the mind tries to cling or react, but that's all been neutralized or calmed through the development of the mindfulness and the concentration. And so there's something called the empty house. So if you get to that point where you're no longer reacting to sensations or sounds, and there's just this kind of little still point in the middle of awareness, where, a subtle vibration, like you were sitting on a vibrating machine. How many of you, stood or sat on a vibrating machine? Well, the one that's not too strong, but it's kind of just a subtle vibration that goes up. That's what you feel when you're in a deep state of concentration. In the piti and the sukha, that's what piti and sukha is. It's feeling those subtle sensations. But anyway, these other things are coming and going. So you become like an empty house with nobody home. So the ego has stopped reacting at that point. And it starts to fade away like an ice cube melting in water. So you got an ice cube floating in a bowl of water. But the ice cube is also water, right? But it's just frozen water. But it thinks and looks like it's different from the water, right? But what happens when the ice cube melts? Can you say, "Where did my ice cube go?" Can you say, "Where did the water go? Give me my water back. Give me my ice cube." No. It's kind of like become the water. There's no more difference. There's no more me. There's no more you. There's no more past, no more future. No more pleasure, no more pain. Because the resistance, which is that ice cube, has melted due to the fire or the warmth of the wisdom. The concentration and the wisdom is like a little fire underneath. So these are just some analogies that you can kind of use when you're, instead of just, oh, I'm so close now. You're getting attached to, use these little, bring in these little kind of metaphors, and it can help you to kind of get an idea what it is. So the ego, the sense of self, is made up of the past and the future, pleasure and pain, nothing else. That's why when you let go of that, all that mental activity, the sense of self dissolves, because it was an illusion basically created in the mind. Because the baby didn't have it. We already talked about that, right? On the first night, the baby didn't have a solidified sense of ego in it. It only came when it started learning language, and you gave it a name, and then, but especially learning language and starting to move about, lost that connection. Okay, I think maybe that may be enough for this Dhamma talk. I don't know, this group doesn't seem to say sadhus very much. I don't know.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Kind of behind the ball a little bit. Okay, so now go ahead and stand up to relieve any buildup of pain in your legs. Just relax your arms at the sides. Try to stand straight. Just begin some 3-part breathing, deep, slow breathing I was telling you about yesterday. Drawing the air from the lower lung up to the top of the chest. Hold the air in for a few seconds. Squeeze all the oxygen out into the bloodstream. And especially try to feel that out breath, the air flowing out of the body all the way down to the in. And make it as slow as you can. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Breathing in, standing. Breathing out, standing. Take a few more breaths like that by yourself. Okay, so we'll combine this breathing with the movements. So it's especially important to try to coordinate the breath with the movement. That means as you start the in-breath, you start the movement. As you finish the movement, you finish the breath, the in-breath and the movement at the same time. Then you start the out-breath and you return to the starting point together and try to finish them at the same time. When the arms come down, you feel that so beautifully. You can coordinate. It requires all your effort of mind. That means you can't think about anything else when you're doing that. People try to. Okay. On the next in breath, raise the arms over the head, interlock the fingers, turn the palms up, straighten the arms, stretch the head back, feel the sensations. Release the fingers, out breath. Let the air go out, the arms come down. Pause a moment. Next in breath. Stretch up, bend back a little bit. With the arch in the lower spine. Out breath. Once more. Out. And relax, keep feeling the body, hold that outline of the body in the mind's eye. Head on top, arms at the sides, clothing touching the skin, feet pressing the floor. It's like you're looking into a mirror, not as a visual image, but as an outline of sensation. Remember standing, standing, standing. Repeating those words will help keep the mind focused and out of your other thoughts. And the next in breath, lift up on the balls of the feet while raising the arms up in this way. Face the hands toward each other. Stretch up. Out breath. Feel the air go out as the arms come down. Use the in breath to help lift up the body, blowing up a helium balloon. Stretch out. In. Stretch out. Close the eyes, relax. Feel the increased sensations, vibrations, in the activated molecular cellular vibrations, electrons swirling around atoms. Just let the thoughts come and go in the back of the mind. Keeping the sensation body in the front of the awareness. Your clothing touching the skin, different places. And next we'll do the side bending using one arm at a time. So on the in-breath, raise the left arm up. Keep the fingers and arms straight, close to the head. On the out-breath, bend over the right side. Try to lay your arm on the side of the head. In-breath, lift up. 2 more times, same side, out-breath. Out. The out breath, lower the arm. Next in breath, the other arm. Out breath, to the left. Out breath, lower the arm. Just keep feeling the body. Don't give the mind time to get lost in thought. The body's always right here, right now. It's beneath your nose. 100 or more pounds of flesh and blood, billions of cells vibrating. Instead of thinking about yesterday or tomorrow, think about that here and now. Now there's a little bit more room today. I'm going to spread the legs apart about 3 feet. Just try to have enough room. We're going to move the arms without hitting somebody else's arms. You can raise or lower your arms. You don't hit each other. We're going to do the twisting from right to left, holding the arms out. If you can't hold the arms out like this, you can put them on your hips. So breathe in. On the out breath, twist to the right. Let your feet move a little bit. Keep your eyes focused on the hand going back. On the in breath, come back to the front. And let your feet turn with the body and twist to the other side on the out breath. In breath, front. Moving to the right, out breath. In. Out. In. Once more to each side. Out breath, lower the arms. The sensations in your shoulders, heart beating, feel each foot pressing the floor. Feel the subtle vibrations in your hands and fingers, subtle pulsation. That's the real life blood pulsing through our veins and arteries. You can now put the hands at the chest. Keep your legs apart, widen the better. In the in-breath, raise the hands over the head. On the out-breath, lower the hands to the chest and bend your knees and lower the body down. Try to keep the back upright. Feel the stretch in your hips and knees. On the in-breath, push up. Second time, try to come down a little farther. Third time. Out-breath. Relax. Feel the sensation. You'll be able to feel even hundreds of sensations vibrating, pulsating all over the body. You can feel that, that's awareness. Each of those sensations is a different moment of awareness. Creating an open field, an expanded field. You feel sensations from your head, arms, and feet. That keeps the awareness open, expanded. And now we're going to do forward and backward bending, keeping the legs apart. Try to keep the legs a bit wider apart. Okay. Again, just be careful with the back bend. Don't bend back too far the first time, especially if you have a stiff back. Be careful when you're lifting up from that and kind of shaking this. So breathe in. On the out breath, bend forward. Keep the head lifted up. Don't look down. Let the hands slide down to your kneecaps. Try to flatten your spine like a tabletop. Feel the straight legs. In breath, lift up. Move the hands under the buttocks for support. And carefully bend back on the out breath. Keep the eyes open. In breath, carefully lift up. And the second time out breath, let the hands come below your knees. So keep your head up. Feel the extra stretch in the back of your legs. In breath. In the back bend, be careful. In. And the third time, let the hands come down as far as you can towards your ankles or feet. And hold on there longer. Let the little bones in the lower spine stretch out. Feel all the sensations. And begin lifting up. Once more, the back bend. Just be careful. In breath. And on the out breath, relax your shoulders and arms. Side. Feel all those vibrations. Heartbeat, pulsations, maybe some aches or pains. So many different types of sensations. An activated life force. An activated life force feels so good, the mind doesn't want to think about anything else. Like being submerged in a warm bubble bath. Present moment, body centered awareness. Now bring your legs back closer together. Just one last simple exercise. Head turning from right to left. With the in-breath, head to the right. Look over the right shoulder. Out breath all the way back to the left. Look over the left shoulder. Feel the neck vertebrae loosening up. In breath to the right. Out left. Once more to each side. And the in-breath, let the head stop in the middle. And feeling the whole body. Clothing touching the outer skin. Subtler sensations under the skin. Sort of feel like you're standing on a vibrating machine. Feeling all those vibrations from the soles of your feet up to the top of the head. You imagine what it was like for the baby in the womb before coming out. You're totally immersed in sensation. Okay. Now, without breaking your awareness, your concentration on the body, mindfully lower the body down into the sitting posture. So you have a bottle of water by you, take a sip of water. Let's establish that sitting body awareness. Find that center of gravity of the head and spine over the hip. Keeping the chin level with the floor. Just try to hold that outline of the sitting body in the mind's eye. Actually, the awareness is like an inbuilt video camera. By feeling the eyes, it's kind of like seeing the body, not through the eyes, but through sensation. Just watching the body sitting and breathing. And begin some deep, slow breathing again, 3-part breathing. Just breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Hold the breath 2 seconds. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Feel the last bit of air go out. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Now we'll count our breaths from 1 to 10. Develop a more continuous concentration on the breathing. I'll do the counting for you. Just try to follow that with your breathing and concentration. Letting your thoughts come and go in the back of the mind. So with the next expanding in-breath, mentally count to 1. Hold the breath a second. With the contracting out breath, also count to 1. Feel the last bit of air go out. Next in breath, 2. Out breath, 2. In 3. Out 3. In 4. Out 4. In 5. Out 5. In 6. Out 6. In 7. Out 7. In 8. Out 8. In 9. Out 9. In 10. Out 10. When the breath goes out, don't try to breathe in again. Just completely relax. Keep your attention centered and just feel the next in breath as it comes in by itself. And keep following those movements of the in breathing and out breathing. Shorter, uncontrolled rhythm. Especially try to feel, focus where the clothing rubs against the skin of your stomach, rib cage, your chest. Shorter expansion and contraction draws you deeper into concentration. Try to notice the 4 phases of each breath cycle. Expanding in breath from beginning to end. And the brief pause. The contracting out breath from beginning to end. in the brief pause, just over and over and over and over again. In, sitting, out, sitting, breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Just continue developing that concentrated mindfulness. If you want, you could add the counting to that to see if you can count 10 breaths without my reminding, under your own concentration power. Without the mind going to sleep or getting lost in thought. Stay awake, alert, breath by breath, moment by moment. If you're able to make it from 1 to 10 breaths with the counting without getting lost, it should be good enough concentration. Just go into the non-verbal awareness, gradually opening up to the flow of impermanence. The breath is still there in the middle, going in and out. The larger body around it, full of sensation. You don't have to look for the sensations, they will naturally appear in the consciousness. The mirror-like consciousness. And be alert for those urges to move the body. Every time you move the body, you disturb that concentrated awareness. Just learn to observe and endure unpleasant sensations. Or you can try identifying the aggregates as they take your attention. The mind identifies some vibration. It's perception. If there's any thoughts about it, that's thinking. There's an urge to move, that's urging. Just keep relaxing with each out breath, allowing the body and mind to relax more and more. To the here and now, to the flow of impermanence. If you notice any thought of I, me, or mine, recognize that as the ego consciousness. Gradually just try to become like an empty house with nobody home to answer the call, knocking on the doors and windows. But there's a sensitive microphone in the house. Awareness that knows but doesn't know. knows but cannot react. You catch yourself lost in thought, recognize it as lost. Take a deep, slow breath. Bring the mind back into the body. Become more awake, centered in the body. Take several more deep, slow breaths. Recharge up the bloodstream with oxygen. You have a good awareness of the flow of impermanence. Just allow any last little remaining sense of me or I, that ice cube, the ego consciousness. With each out breath, just let it gradually melt away a little more. With each out breath, letting go. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. So many different sensations arising and vanishing. Sounds arising and vanishing. Pleasure and pain coming and going. Perceptions, thoughts coming and going. Urges. Thoughts of I, me, your mind come and go. These are all just a continuous flow of change and impermanence of the five aggregates, arising and vanishing through this nervous system, through the space of awareness. Without holding, without rejecting. Everything just effortlessly comes and goes. Through that awareness, wisdom. You can continue sitting longer if you like. You have good mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. Otherwise, when you're ready, you can mindfully come out of the sitting on your own, go up into standing, and then you can go outside and do some walking outside till time for the lunchtime puja. Continue sitting in here longer if you like.